Today let's see how to pre-pleat and pack your sari so you can take it anywhere, everywhere and wear your sari in just 5 minutes and make it look beautiful and amazing. First thing you need is a place to iron and pre-pleat your sari. It can be an ironing board or your dining table or like how I am doing a countertop. I'm using 2 blankets to give it that cushiony and good padded surface where I can put my iron box and iron my sari, which will give it a much better press. I'm using a very good soft silk sari because I'm getting ready for a wedding, so I want to use this new sari for the wedding, so I thought I'll show you the process. This is an amazing color combination. Let me know in the comment section if you like this color combination, or do you have a sari in this color combination? Do let me know. So when ironing a sari, always use a cloth to protect it from the heat. I never skip this step, especially for my silk saris. Before getting into pleating and ironing, all such things, we need to know how long our pallu has to be and where we have to pleat our waist pleat so it will align exactly in the right place for us. Start wrapping your sari around your waist and determine where exactly your first pleat will fall. So make a pin there to mark it. And the same way when making your pallu, measure your pallu. I'm really sorry the part cut off. Just the width of the pallu. Just mark it and pin it there so you will know exactly where to fold it and iron it. The next step is to find the length of your pallu. So for me, I really love my pallu going below my knee, which looks amazing and elegant. So you can see this is the length I'm going for, so I'm marking the length again with a pin. I am using a pin to mark it as when you are going to pleat and iron your sari, you know exactly where to start and where to stop. This is really important if you want that elegant, beautiful looking pre-pleated sari. First start with your pallu. As you can see, I'm making the first pleat fold, where we mark the safety pin. That's where I'm making the fold and measuring it using my scale. I love using my scale because it will give me the exact measurement throughout the pleat. So I'm making sure all the way from the beginning till the end of the pleat, we marked it where it's going to rest on our shoulder. Till that point, I'm making sure everything is in the same width by using my scale. Also using my sewing pins to pin it to the blanket so my pleats won't move. When we are moving the sari, there is a high possibility of the pleats moving here and there, and we might have a crooked pleats. I don't want that happening, so I use my sewing pins to pin it. Now I'm using my ironing box in the setting for silk, which is very important to use. Don't go for cotton or anything, it's going to overheat. And also I'm using a cotton cloth to protect my sari from the heat. It's not really needed, but I don't like to take risks when it comes to my saris or my client saris. So I use the cloth to avoid any damage that may or might happen. I don't like to take the risk. I use a cotton cloth and I would highly recommend for you to do the same. Now that the first pleat is done, the second pleat has to be a little smaller in width compared to the first pleat. As I always mention in my sari draping videos, it will give a very neat and clean look. So my pleat is actually 5 inches long, the first pleat. So I'm making my second pleat around 4.5 inches. Again, I'm using my scale to make sure my measurements is on point. So I'm again using my sewing pins to pin it and mark throughout my sari pallu length. When you are doing the pre-pleating pleats, the first and second pleat is going to take a little time when compared to others, because when you make these 2 pleats exactly to your liking, the rest of the pleats is going to fall in place very easily. So take your time and do these first 2 pleats. Once you are done, use a cotton cloth and iron your second pleat in place. Once you do this part of the ironing, the pleats will act as a guide for your next coming pleats. Now let's pleat the rest of the pleats. I'm doing the same process again. I'm going to make the the third pleat align with the second pleat. The first pleat is going to be a little wider, right? So the second pleat and the third pleat is going to be the same length. Also, I am using my sewing pins to help me with the process. If you can see, the first pleat is not letting me see how my second and third pleats are aligning. So I'm just pinning it back so I can make it look much better. Once I make the second and third pleat, align together, I'm pinning the first, second and third pleat all together to make sure they don't move and stay in place when I'm doing the next coming pleats. Repeat the process for the entire pleat length. Now let's speed up the process by pleating our pleats and then pinning and adjusting it. I'm doing this to save some time, and I would highly recommend, if you're doing it for a customer or your client, just take time to make your pleats one by one. If you're doing it for yourself or you want to save some time, you can do this process. How to do it is, just pleat your pallu like normally you would pleat when you're usually draping your sari. While doing it, make sure your pleating is right. As you can see in the video, it was little bigger, so I'm adjusting it and making sure the pleats are going in the right way. When you drape it, your pleats, how it falls, you have to keep that in mind while doing it. Once I'm done, I have pinned it, and now I'm taking my time to adjust it right and make the second pin. The first pin is just to keep those folds together. After making sure all the pleats align together, and then I am pinning it. You can remove the first pin if necessary. Now it's time to make sure all the pleats are in the right direction and in the right place before we iron it. So how I'm doing it is just like you can see in the video. I'm just making sure everything is in the right place, and I'm making sure even inside it looks nice, because once you are once you have ironed it, it's not going to be easy to change it. It is not that difficult, but why make two jobs when you can make it right in the first place? So when you are doing it, make sure all the pleats are right and no other pleats are peeking out of the very first pleats. That is very, very important, because once your pleats are inside the first, the very first pleat, it's going to look very neat and good. Even though if there is some mistakes in the pleats that are inside the first pleat, it's not going to be shown that easily. Pin the pleats as you are adjusting it, so it will keep everything in place and won't let it move, so it will be very easy for us during the ironing process. And don't worry about the pins while ironing, it's not going to damage the sari or anything. I have done it multiple times, it has never damaged the sari. And also, if there is a mark from the pin, I will show you how to iron it out once we are done. So keep watching, and if you have any doubts so far, please let me know in the comment section. I will definitely explain it in the comment section, or I will explain it in the next video. If you see, the first pleat is good, but the pleats inside are peeking a little outside. One of the pleats actually is peeking outside, so I'm going to adjust it. You can see there is a difference there. So I'm just taking the pin out and making sure all the pleats are fitting inside the first pleat. As I mentioned earlier, that step is very important to make sure your sari looks very flawless and elegant. How I am doing it is just using my scale again to see the measurement and try to align all the pleats inside the first pleat. I have speed up the process, but still you can see how I am doing it. I don't want this video to be even longer. Already it's about 20 minutes long. So you can see how I am actually aligning it and putting a pin there so it will stay in place. I'm going to repeat these processes over and over again until I am done with the length of the pleat. Before we get into ironing, turn the pallu and see if all the pleats are aligning and if it's inside the first pallu, just to make sure before we iron it out. Now it's time to iron it. Use the cotton cloth and then use your iron box in the silk setting and give it a really good press. Here you have to give it a very good press because we have lots of layers of pleats, so we have to make sure all the pleats are ironed out. So we have to make sure we give it a good press. Give your strength and press it good. If it's like a Kanjipuram silk sari, it will take even more pressure to give it a good press. But if it's a silk sari like this, like a soft silk sari, it's not going to take a long press or anything. It's just going to get pressed very easily. Now you can go ahead and remove all the pins. As we have ironed it, the the pleats are not going to move or go anywhere. It will be easy to bring it back even if it moves. I would highly recommend putting just a pin at the end of the pallu to make it easy for you to when you're folding it or anything like that. Now it's time to align and iron the pleats of your sari that's going to be on top of your chest area. When you're doing it, just spread your sari, just go with the flow of the sari, don't force it, just take your time and just like fan it out, just like how we would fan our hand fans, just like that slowly fan those pleats out. So once you have done that, just give it a good press. Because I have a very slender torso, I'm going for a very thin kind of a fanning out. If you have a bigger body proportion, just like fan it out a little more, and then again use a cotton cloth and give it a very good press, and you will be able to see how amazingly it gets pressed and fanned out, and it looks so like very good and professional. Even if you do it, it'll look the same. Just take your time and do it, you will achieve it. Just added my sewing pins to keep those pleats in place when I'm ironing my waist pleats. When ironing your waist pleats, it's the same formula that we applied with our pallu. Start from the point where we have pinned, the point where we found out where our pleats are going to start. Just fold it at that point and make your first pleat. I'm going to pin it with my blanket so my sari doesn't move, because when the most of the portion of the sari are down, it's going to pull it. So I'm going to make 3 pins along with my blanket so I can make the first fold very good and well. Now it's time to iron it, just like how we did our pallu. Use the silk setting in your iron box and iron it away. Now I'm turning the sari to help me make the waist pleats and iron it, as I didn't realize how I was doing it in the first place. So I'm just turning the sari right now and pinning it to my blanket. Now adjust the sari to make sure everything underneath lays flat, because when we iron, we have to make sure everything is in a good shape, even under, so we won't make any mistakes in ironing. So start making your waist pleats. The very first pleat is always important, whether it's pallu or your waist pleats. The first pleat is going to be always little wider than the rest of the pleats, just like I always mention in my sari draping videos. Now pin your pleats in place using the sewing pins and start repeating the process for the upcoming pleats. If you want a lot of waist pleats, make your pleats smaller. If you want lesser waist pleats, make your pleats wider. So if you notice in the beginning, I didn't show you where to stop your waist pleats when folding it and ironing it. That footage went missing. I'm really sorry. How to determine it is, put your pallu on your shoulder and take it around your breast area and then bring it to your belly button. That length is where you have to mark. Until that pin, you have to make your pleats like how I have showed in this video. Once you have pleated and pinned all your waist pleats together, this is how it will look. Now it's time to iron these pleats together. When doing it, make sure everything lays flat, even on top and on the bottom of your sari, and give it a good press with your hands before going with your iron box. Put your cotton cloth on top of it and make sure everything lays flat, and make sure your pins are also on the sari and not bulging out. And even here you have to give it a real good press with your ironing box. As I mentioned with the pallu pleats, there are lots of layer in here, so once you give it a good press, it's going to be good. Now you can remove the pins. When you remove the pins, if you see a marking on there, just iron on top of it, again just giving a good press, it will help with taking away those iron marks. You can remove all the pins and just adjust those pleats, and then add one single pin, keeping all your waist pleats together in the top and also in the bottom. We need to do this to keep your waist pleats in place while we are packing it and taking it with us in a suitcase or in a bag. To fold your sari, lay your waist pleats that we have pleated straight and then start with that end piece. Now as you can see, just fold it as your sari flows. Make sure the right side of the sari goes inside and out, and you can see the wrong side is shown with your pallu pleats. Now adjust your pallu pleats that we have made and lay it flat on the sari that we have folded, the waist part that we have folded. Now adjust your sari's pallu thing that goes on top of our breast. Adjust those pleats and make it lay as flat as possible. Here it's not going to be like very neat and good, but make sure the pleats folds are falling straight as much as you can. Don't like stress over it, but do it as much as you can. And as I'm adjusting, just take your time and adjust it, and like start moving it and placing it within the sari that we have already folded. Now, keeping the pallu part on your shoulder, fold your sari like how I am showing. This part you have to adjust according to your sari. Now I am doing it to fit it in a bag, like a sari bag, and I will also show you how to do it to fit it in a sari box that comes with this sari. With this particular sari, I didn't like showcase the pleats that are going to be on the breast area, but just the pallu, I'm folding it on top of the sari and like placing it neatly for it to be packed in my sari bag. If you want your sari to fit in the sari box it comes in, you have to do it a little different, but not so much. As you see, I put the pallu inside the sari and folding it to fit the size of the sari box. My sari box is very slim and lean, so I'm just folding it like so, and then like wrapping my pallu over it like a tie, and then placing it inside my sari box to see if it fits inside. And exactly it fits inside my sari box just like it was meant to be. Sari pre-pleating and ironing and getting it ready to be packed. The video is all done, and this is the blouse that I'm going to wear this sari with. The blouse is really elegant and it adds that little touch of glam but also elegance to it. And I'm going to show you how to drape this pre-pleated sari in my next video. So do subscribe to my channel and push that notification bell so you will not miss that video. Also follow me on Instagram to know more about me and my life. And also follow me on my Facebook page where you can chat with me every single day. There are different chats where you can ask questions related to sari styling, etc. Now you can go ahead and watch this video on the screen and click that subscribe button. Don't forget it. I will catch you in my next video. Until then, remember, you are amazing just the way you are. Bye bye with Love Sindhu.